So I'm not much of a shopper, and you can keep eating and stuff too. And in fact, if you ask my wife, she says that in the 20 whatever years we've been married, that she's had me in a store like twice or something, and both times they were hardware stores. So I do most of my shopping now online, and all the online places always have, you know, some kind of star rating system. So you read the other people, what the other people wrote about the product you're potentially going to buy, and you read the 5-star reports and you read the 1-star reports. Whoever reads the 4, 3s, and the 2s, I always read the 5s and the 1s, right? If I have a normal shopping experience, I find what I'm looking for, and they ship it to me on time, and UPS doesn't break it on the way. And that's a decent experience, shopping experience, and I'd star that. I give that 3 stars. So I was thinking about what does it take for me to give a 5-star rating, and that's a little bit rhetorical because I actually never go back and rate anything. I'm just a user of the ratings that other people do. But if I was going to do it, what would it take to have me give a 5-star rating to some service that I go to? And it's not just delivering the product exactly as it was specified at the time that was required. The way you get a 5-star for me is when something goes wrong in the transaction, and then the customer service I get is outstanding. So it's when something bad happens, that's when I go, wow, that's a great company. I'm going to do more business with that company because they treated me really well even when something bad happened. So think about ourselves, for example. At Novinium, we provide reliability to our to our customers, reliable circuits. So what's the worst thing that can go wrong for us is a fault. We treat the cable, the idea was to not have it fault, but it faults. So that's the worst thing that can happen. So now we have a chance to be a 3-star company or a 5-star company. So to get to be a 5-star, you have to go, oh, sir, it happens once in a while. We're going to get you a report that gives us our best explanation of why something went astray. We have a money-back guarantee, so we're going to get you a check fairly quickly. And that builds customer loyalty when you do that really well. So if I was a sales guy and I had a customer that had a fault, then what I'd certainly want to do is I'd want to go and participate in that process and make sure that the words that were in the fault report said exactly what I wanted them to say. I'd want to make sure that the check that got sent out on a timely basis. And we had the sales guys last week, and a couple of them actually do that. So when a significant fault occurs or something, they get involved in the process and they make sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. But there's times when our engineering report, for example, might take some significant amount of time to accomplish, and the customer doesn't get an immediate response. So I'm thinking if I'm the customer and I don't get that, I might not give a 5-star. So the marketing department, what does that report that we send back look like? Wouldn't you want to make sure that it was consistent, that it represented our brand well, and that it used the same language so that we don't tell one customer one thing and another customer another thing? Marketing department has never had any impact on the fault process whatsoever. So so I have a vision for that little process that I think you guys can see where I'm headed, is that when we have a fault, that a customer goes, wow, these guys are great. My sales guy that I deal with every day was involved. It's clear that somebody in marketing was involved because this is a beautiful output, and whatever document that I'm getting, whatever report I'm getting is well designed. And the engineering acumen that showed by that report is outstanding. Like, these guys really know what they're talking about. That's the reaction that I want to have if I'm a customer, and why shouldn't we give that reaction to our customers? So I've just defined for you a vision for a process that's just a small part of Novinium. We had a meeting last week where the goal was to step back and say, what's the vision of all of Novinium, not just the fault process, the after the failure process, the whole big vision. So I've been at this for 12 years now, and my vision has changed slightly. The words have definitely changed, as you'll see in a moment. But the vision is still pretty much the same as a sort of an outstanding customer experience. You could even maybe summarize it as a 5-star experience. I mean, that's what we want every time that we deal with customers, that they have a 5-star experience. And by the way, when I say the word customers, it could be our internal customers as well. You may not ever deal with an external customer, but some of the internal customers sitting at this table over here are our customers if you're in the accounting department or something like that, and they want to have a 5-star experience too, or we want them to have a 5-star experience. So some of you might remember this photograph, and it was put out, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago, and I asked for ideas for a caption for it or something in one of the Novinium Newses. Does anybody remember the caption that ended up being associated with this photograph? These are some of our field masters on a job, I think it was in Ohio or someplace at a power plant. Norm?
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call? So our mission is to be the first choice in underground rehabilitation. And a way that you can sort of sum that up in a simple vision statement is who are you going to call? When a customer has a problem with their reliability, who are you going to call? It's Novinium. It's us. That's who we want them to call. So that's our new vision statement. Easy to remember. I'm not sure we'll put this logo out all over the place, right? but it helps to remember. It helps to remember the vision, and then the mission is fairly straightforward. It's to be the first choice in underground rehabilitation. So around that vision and mission, there's strands of culture that make Novinium unique, and there's 6 of them. And so just like a 7-strand cable, we have the center strand is right there, and then we have these 6 outer strands. And the first outer strand is safety. Safety is the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning. Literally, I usually lay in bed for a few moments. This might be too much information for you guys, but I never set an alarm unless I have to go catch a plane or something like that. I just wake up when I wake up. So when I wake up, typically at 5:20 in the morning, the very first thing I think about is what am I going to do today to make our company safer? Because that's what I dreamt about the previous evening, is not how it's going to be safer. I had a bad dream about how something bad could happen. So that's the very first thing that I think about when I wake up in the morning. We have 3 programs that I think are really important. The Visiting Masters program, we have 2 gentlemen here today that are part of that. It's a great way to bring people into the headquarters and teach them all kinds of things, but certainly our view of safety in the headquarters is an important part that we want to have them walk away with. Another new thing, I'm not sure how much we've talked about this, probably not, is the Knobs Ambassadors. So Barry Thompson is our very first Knobs Ambassador, and he's out this quarter, and he's going to job site after job site after job site, and he spends a week with the crew. And during that week, he's helping them in all kinds of ways, but the primary focus is safety and making these observations. So that's an important brand new program that just started basically on January 1st. And then I just saw an announcement from Marco in the last 24 hours about this new safety committee. So I won't go into all the details, what's the difference between knobs and safety now, that'll be a topic for another day. But these are some of the things that we do for safety. The next strand is quality and reliability. And as I started out by saying, our customers, that's what they're buying from us. They're buying a quality service and they're buying reliable cables. So it's obviously an important plank or an important strand of our world. And last week, as I said, when I was in the Seattle meeting, I shared with all our field folks what our experience is with faults and when the splices fail. So this is a subset of all the faults that we have, which is like 140 or something. So something like 11 splice faults, and that's the number 11 up there. And then the blue, there's 3 different shades of blue, but those are all craftsmanship errors. So about 2/3 of our splice problems are craftsmanship related. That's a failure of quality. It's a failure of reliability that we can control. So we should drive that. Actually, this is going back to the beginning of time, so you can never go lower than 11. But it should never be 12 or 13. We can stop the 12th failure from occurring and the 13th failure from occurring. So quality and reliability are key. And then another big thing for me is integrity. And so I think I might have talked about this before in a lunch and learn, but to me, one of the things that served Novinium really well, and again, I think it's part of our culture, is to be transparent not only with our customers if we have a fault and we screwed up, like one of these craftsmanship errors, that's what the report says. It says our guy screwed up and had the cut back wrong or whatever the detailed issue was. We tell them we screwed up, and here's your money back. So it's completely transparent, no secret hidden doors or secret handshakes with the customer. But then also internally, this is where I remember talking about it at a different Lunch and Learn, is we want to be as transparent as we can, and the as we can part is the lawyer part. Whenever I have some legal requirement that I can't share something, then I have to be a little bit less than transparent. But wherever I can be transparent, my goal is to always be transparent. I hope each of you has that same goal. But there's another dimension to integrity, and there's two subdimensions underneath that. We have an active commission is when I lie. I do something that I know is untruthful. That's a commission. I committed that. An active omission is when I withhold information that I should have told somebody, but I chose not to share. That's the same. It's another kind of lie. It's a quieter lie, but it's a lie nonetheless. So first of all, and I know I've also shared this with you at previous Lunch and Learns, is everybody lies, including myself. And I've told you all, not everyone was in the meeting, but I told you my story about how I lied to myself about speeding. You guys remember, some of you remember that story? So I'm not going to repeat it now, but everybody lies. I lie. I try to catch myself at it. I got the little guy on my shoulder that says, Glenn, that's not exactly accurate. And then I change my story and get it right after a couple of errors. So each of us lies. There was a TV show called House. He was a doctor, and that was one of his lines, everybody lies. So you get some person and he's dying on he's going to die, and he refuses to admit some piece of information that'd be useful for the doctors to diagnose his health, and he'll lie about it because he's too embarrassed to say, whatever the thing was that's dishonest. So great book. I really recommend this book. It gives you insight into your friends and your neighbors and your spouses. It's The Honest Truth About Dishonesty by Daniel Ehrlich. So that's the act of commission. The act of omission was introduced to all of you guys if you read the Novinium News last week. Did everybody read the Novinium News last week? So the basic bottom line there was 61% of the time we omit the fact that we know that that person is going to do something unsafe. And we should say, stop doing that. That's unsafe. But we don't. And we let that unsafe behavior occur. So those are acts of omission. And they're, again, in my mind, you can have your own thought process within yourself. In my mind, they're equally as sinful as an act of commission. And I have the same little guy on my shoulder say, oh, you should have said something, Glenn. And I'm not perfect in this regard either, of course. The next strand of the Novinium culture is learning and innovation. In the ride over today in the car, somebody in my car said something about how we change a lot. And I think that's great. But some people are nervous about that. So if you're new to the company and you don't like change, then get ready for your world to be turned upside down. The Greek letter delta means change. And it's in my DNA. So as long as I'm CEO, we're going to keep changing. Nothing's going to stay the same for very long. We're always going to change. We're always going to get smarter. We're always going to get better. So hopefully you'll enjoy that as well, because life is boring if it stays the same, or it is to me anyway. The next strand is to be responsible and accountable. This is a big change from the last company I came from, and I was a part of the opposite side of this. I mean, I had my part in it. So I learned a lesson and I moved on. And let's talk about responsibility first. So at Utilux when I was there, we had a couple of you will know, and a couple of you that don't know that are new in the field, they have a book called the Cable Care Procedures Manual. It's like that thick, and it's prescriptive. It says this is what you will do, and if you need to deviate from that, you need to call up engineering and get an authorization to deviate. It's a little bit like, working for the SS or something. You can't do anything without the permission of the bosses. So we said, nah. I mean, actually, I said when I was rethinking Novinium, or thinking Novinium for the first time, I guess the right way to say it, rethinking the business, I said, no. What we really want is we want people to be autonomous, to be able to make decisions on their own. We want to provide them guidance. We want to provide them training. We want to make it as easy as possible for them. But at the end of the day, I want each of the masters in this room and each of the 75 masters out in the field to make their own decisions, to be responsible for their own actions. And then there's that other, the A word, the accountable word. And a lot of times people go, accountability, oh, that means somebody's going to get punished. It's not the way I look at it. When I'm talking about accountability, I'm talking about personal accountability. And I got to go backward a little bit to the learning and innovation, because I have a synonym for learning, and that is failing. I fail all the time. When I make a mistake, it's often $1 million mistake. I've probably made some $5 million mistakes, but don't ask about those. But each time I learn, and then I hold myself personally accountable. I was thinking about this in the context of my children. I was telling the accounting department at this table, I noticed we had really nice differentiation of departments by table today. So I had the larger share of the accounting department at this table, and I was saying one of my children turns 13. My youngest one turns 13, so I'll have 2 teenagers in the house. So imagine this scenario right here is, Dad, I know I was supposed to mow the grass, but I got engaged in something else and I forgot. So I'm responsible for mowing the grass, and I made a mistake. And so I'm going to skip my normal 1.5 hour of playtime this evening and get that grass mowed tonight for you. He just held himself personally accountable for his failure, and I bet you he learned a lesson from that too. Now let me just tell you, that was a fantasy I just shared with you. But we're adults, and we can hold ourselves personally accountable, right? I don't want to have somebody, if I have to have a manager with a whip telling you, you screwed up, that's not right. The manager's failed, and so has the person. Hold yourself personally accountable for the things that we all want to achieve. The last strand of what I think of as the Novinium culture, and we struggled for the right words, and I'm still not sure we have exactly the right words, but this is a very ethereal concept, and it's the hardest one for me to explain, but I think it's the most important. And that's the inner drive in each of us to succeed. And all of us know people in our life that don't have that drive. They don't want to succeed. They don't want to be held personally accountable for their actions. Those wouldn't make good Novinium employees. Let's make sure HR doesn't hire them. You know, it's a little bit tough, but we just want the people that are driven to succeed, the people that expect success. The problem is that all 6 of these things, these aren't Novinium. They're in each of the Novinium people. Institutions don't have souls. Novinium, Inc. is a Series C corporation incorporated in the state of Delaware. It could care less if your child has inoperable brain cancer. It doesn't care. I care. And I know many of you, or hopefully all of you, care about that situation. And in fact, I have some pretty good evidence that you do. Because when we asked for PTO contributions, we got way more than we needed. Way more than we needed. So people care. We each have a soul. People have souls, not institutions. When it comes to all 6 of these values, we instill them in our colleagues and our coworkers by treating them that way all the time. If we compromise on them, then we're teaching them a lesson. It's okay to compromise. It's not okay to compromise on integrity. It's not okay to compromise on safety. None of us is perfect. We're all going to sin, don't get me wrong. But we shouldn't compromise on any of these values any of the time. And that's what makes Novinium really cool. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, in my mind, how good our technology is. The customer service experience is what makes us great. It's that 5-star experience when our customers deal with the field folks and they just get that 5-star attitude. And when they deal with the salesperson and the salesperson trying to help them solve their problems, that's the 5-star experience. And that's what the Novinium experience is all about. So I'm almost through. My door's open, and if there's anything that I can do for you to help you take this message and deliver it to every single person in the company and convert them one soul at a time. then I'm here to help. Okay? Thank you.